You're listening to Australia's national youth radio station, Triple J. For more info, go to triplej.net.au.
Welcome to Sunday Night Safran. In-depth discussions on religion, politics and hoochies on Triple J.
Hello, Father Bob.
G'day, Jack.
Hello, Michelle Bennett.
Hello, John. Hello,
Hello,
Bob.
Michelle Bennett.
How are you?
We're all here tonight. Isn't it lovely?
It's too polite.
Are you a bit put out? You're a bit put out that I'm here.
Well, I
Father
thought
Bob?
to myself, well, there's no, the sun and the moon don't shine together.
Am I the sun or the moon?
You're the moon, Diana
This is like
the moon.
some new
goddess.
genre of talk.
No, this will be nice
talk
because
radio.
no.
That's sort of like the reason no other station or program has ever done is because it's like unbearable. Like, oh, you, no, you. How are you? No, you. No, you look
Why
great.
am I the moon? The moon's all dark and sort of sullen.
What's on the show? What's on the show?
The show tonight, apart from us three. Jessie Taylor's here. She's the refugee advocate who's doing a legal, etc., etc. Dr.
She's a Christian. Can we kind of zhuzh it up? Just give that to me.
Yourself. Do it yourself.
Jessie Taylor. She goes into the detention centres secretly with arms
Truly.
and drugs. No, not really.
No.
I hyped that up a bit.
That's not on that sheet.
No, she's a Christian who goes in there to try to help out the guys.
That's
and she's
nice.
going to be coming on in.
That's nice.
We've got Dr. Eugene
Eugen.
from the Cunningham, I don't know Mandarin as good as you, from the Cunningham Dax collection of psychiatric art.
That'll be good for you, yes.
It's a gallery where all the work hung is by people either presently with mental illnesses or previously with mental illnesses.
They never asked me.
Well,
Hung.
very dangerous ground to kind of be doing mental illness irony when the guest is coming in half an hour. He mightn't find that amusing. He might crack it and just go.
I think it's a woman.
No, it's not.
No, it's a man.
Sorry.
We also have Stephen Mayne from crikey.com.au, and he's going to be telling us, the business of social activism, how you can make money by being a social activist.
Well, I need to talk about it. I'm a social activist myself.
You are. You have the Father Bob Maguire Foundation, don't you?
Not just an actor.
Do you make any money off that?
Not much. Enough to feed the poor.
You do ask for donations, though.
Oh, yes, enough to feed the poor.
No, that's not what Stephen's going to be talking about. He's talking about how you can personally make money.
Oh, personally, out of doing socially active thing. Oh, well,
and he's also going to be talking about multinational companies and who have charitable aims and branches and why they do.
Who sort of side themselves as goodwill ambassadors for...
And guess what? Stephen Mayne's really cynical about that, but he's going to be discussing that further. We also have Roland Kapferer. Again, it's a bit of this is a pre-record, which we're yet to decide whether to try to pass off with the audience, whether it's a pre-record or not.
So Mr. Chavez.
Let's talk about it later.
During the song break. Thank you, Father Bob. This is Triple J. I am John Safran. That is Father Bob Maguire. And Michelle Bennett, who comes in occasionally as a guest, is just goofing around here. Because
it's hanging out.
It's in response to... because we've got the guest book. And once one person asked, and said something vague, like they said, whatever happened to Michelle?
Oh, really?
Yes.
And so I'm back on by popular demand.
Yeah, it is.
By one person, yes. Popular demand.
What's the singular of popular
Certainly
demand?
Certainly not a democracy at
And I ask every Sunday.
Oh, really?
Where is Michelle?
Oh, you're going into that politeness thing. Now, listeners, if anyone has a copy of the Mariah Carey Busta Rhymes single, I think it's called I Know What You Like, but I think it's one of those things that then in brackets it's got some other phrase in it too. If you've got that, can you go get it out? Because we might need you. We'll give you the number out later because I need it for some reason, and I searched through the Triple J library.
You don't have a copy of it yourself?
I didn't.
No.
But I did search through. I came in here late.
And
I searched through the Triple J library, and what do you know? No Mariah Carey featuring Busta Rhymes in the Triple J library.
But isn't Busta Rhymes sort of cool?
Yeah, I don't know.
For the kids?
It's very confusing these days because I thought Coolio was cool because I once had to source this Coolio
CD. The guy
CD.
with the hair?
Yes, and I rang up to try to, because I had to source it for this thing I was doing, and all the record shops gave me a little Snickers.
Did you think Coolio was cool just because he had cool in his name?
Yes, I can be tricked like that. Now, Father Bob Maguire.
Yes, John Safran.
I have a question for you, because as you know, I like to trip you up.
Yes, I was tripped up last night.
and expose you. But sometimes I run out of material, and I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to make fun of you anymore. But I was at your church, and I was thinking exactly this, and then into the background, as I was thinking this, came this van that had your face on the side of it.
Yes.
What's the purpose of that?
It is called branding and marketing one's self.
But that's so people put the money in the collection plate.
Well, they don't it's got nothing to do with the church. It's got to do with my foundation that's supposed to look after those that nobody else looks after.
Who paid for your face on the side of the van?
We did.
How big is the face?
Not that big. It was going to be bigger, but the bloke went out of business.
So he could only do half.
I got a smaller one, but you see, Mr. Know-all and see everything.
Yes.
Sees this little face on the side of the van and dobbed me in. It's meant to go. It's on a van called the Hope-mobile.
So what's that meant to? What are you meant to do with that?
Is that
like the Partridge Family bus or something?
It's supposed to be driving around, and people are supposed to look and say, "Would I trust this man with my money?" Oh, he was on with John Safran, therefore he must be all right.
So
you see, you don't get it, do you?
Yeah, somehow I don't think this is a business model that's sort of like Richard Pratt.
It's a knee-jerk
or Eddie Maguire
business model.
Yes, a knee-jerk.
It's a harebrained scheme, but it's the only way I can think of getting into the public mind. That is to have them driving behind a van with my face staring at them.
You know how you can make money out of it?
How?
Get a couple of tubs of ice cream from Safeway, Mr. Whippy van. Yeah, and you can sell ice creams out the side of it, or maybe hot dogs.
No, I think I'm going to stop in a public place, throw open the door and hand out leaflets. That's what I'm going to do.
Hand out leaflets? Is that what the van does?
That's what I'm going to do.
What do the leaflets say?
The leaflets will say, Father Bob Maguire Foundation looks after this, and this. Thank you, Michelle. I can't get ever that on the air, but now we've had it more tonight than we have in the whole year.
Coming up next, another Christian in the house besides you.
Jessie.
Taylor, the Christian refugee advocate. This is Triple J. I'm John Safran. That there is Father Bob Maguire. And that little elf-like creature in the corner is Michelle Bennet.
You
tell me they can't see.
And we have with us Jessie Taylor.
Thank you.
Hello.
Asylum seeker advocate. Now, you were at a detention centre just today.
I was indeed.
Which one?
The Maribyrnong Detention Centre, which is about 100 metres from the beautiful, scenic High Point Shopping Centre in Melbourne. And is this part of your job? No. I kind of wish. No, it's not part of my job. It's just sort of something I've been doing for a while, just 'cause.
So you're hardcore, because this isn't one of the big ones. It's like one of the alternate ones we hardly ever hear about.
Yeah, no, it's not one of the let's all go there at Easter time and throw bricks at coppers and break detainees out. This is just sit in the detention centre, visits area, drinking the worst coffee in the world and just,
So do you get
out.
annoyed with other activists who do the more violent sort of breaking out of Villawood and...
Yeah, it's a bit annoying because I've done the 15-hour trek to Baxter and back again, which is an absolute cow of a journey. And I've talked to people who have been there for their protests and sort of chucking bricks at stuff and, yeah, man, rock and roll, free the refugees. And they've never actually thunk to go inside the detention centre and actually meet people, sit down, hear their stories, and actually get involved with people's lives in an ongoing way. It's more just like add it to your I'm a hardcore social justice, CV sort of thing. I've already annoyed about 3/4 of your listeners.
I do like how you've complained about the coffee and also the trip to the detention centre. Now, are there good things about detention centres?
Detention centres themselves, I would say not. The experience of visiting, however, multitudinous good things, many good things.
So you just reckon anyone who's in a detention centre deserves to be out of it?
No, that would be oversimplifying. I don't advocate at all just a totally open door, hey, it's fun over here, border protection policy. But the fact that Australia has mandatory and indefinite detention is a big fat problem, particularly what we're about to try and crank it up a couple of notches.
Do you think that Howard's idea, though, of trying to deter things happening, like the unsafe boats coming and so on, so that would have to be a positive for it?
Well, actually, the whole idea of deterrence is a bit of a joke, because the numbers before the mandatory detention thing and after, the numbers have remained steady, basically. And arguably, actually, the temporary protection visa, which was a creation of the Howard government in 1998, actually it was Pauline Hanson's idea in 96, but then it turned up on the government's policy, that the temporary protection visa doesn't give any right of family reunion. So if dad's over here, wife and kids can't come over here. Their only way of being reunited is by getting on a leaky boat, which obviously they're going to do.
Okay, enough of you sounding like a normal person. You're in fact an insane Christian. How does your Christianity play into all of this?
Well, in a few different ways. I suppose a lot of people have this picture of Jesus in their head of this sort of silky-haired, berobed gentleman stroking a lamb and patting a child or something.
He's not.
I know.
Isn't he not?
I haven't finished my sentence yet.
Sorry.
Bob. Thanks,
I got a fright then, I thought. That's what I believed.
My favourite picture of Jesus that I have in my head is of him raging through the temple with fire in his eyes, upsetting tables left, right and centre. Like, this guy was a hardcore stirrer. He was radically countercultural. He was engaged with politics and with, all sorts of stuff. He was like a massive activist. And that is the Jesus that I follow. None of this sort of lamb-patting business.
Now, an Iranian Christian came up to me on the street about 3 weeks ago because he recognised me, and he went through a detention centre experience, and he told me that because he's Christian and he was a sincere Christian, it was easier for him to get his entry ticket stamped had he not been a Christian.
That is just one of the grounds for being a refugee in Australia one of the grounds for being a refugee under the convention is, John's giving me this smug, answer that one, woman, look, is religious status. And there's this thing called being a refugee sur place, which means in the place that you're in, where if you are actually a Christian, being a Christian in Iran is no fun. You get your eyes gouged out, you disappear, you die, you get tortured. It's all sorts of not fun. So that would possibly be just an aspect of his refugee claim, which would strengthen his claim, rather than, just we love Christians, yada, yada, yada.
Is there cynicism of people converting to Christianity once they do come to Australia?
Yeah, from time to time there is, certainly. But, people who tend to do it have usually ongoing support from people from church communities who are really, in quite a real and ongoing way, contributing to those people's lives. I don't think I've ever met anyone in detention who's kind of like, hey, I just got baptised in detention, watch my visa flow in, It's just not like that. But yes, there is cynicism.
Are you like Father Bob, who pretends he does things for this kind of vague secular social justice reason independent of the Bible, but you really, when you're in there, you kind of drop the word Jesus a few times when you're talking to the refugees?
No, I don't really drop it very much. It's part of my life, so if someone asks me a question and it relates to it, then I'll drop it in there, but I'm never like, hey, it's funny you should ask that, because, I was thinking about Jesus the other day. I don't sort of do my very best to worm it in, but, it's a part of my life that is an important part of my life, and I live that proudly.
I should have checked this out before we went to air. It's pronounced Mandaeans, isn't it?
What is?
The Christian Mandaeans.
Mandaeans.
The Mandaeans.
Yes.
You know the Christian Mandaeans? I've heard they're the ones that they follow John the Baptist, do they not? And they get baptised once a week.
Oh, heavens.
And they live in water.
It?
And they, I've heard that they get... Remember that guy we interviewed on the show?
Yeah,
we interviewed a Christian Mandaean who said that they were persecuted by the Muslims in the detention centre.
Yeah. Look, there are issues, cross-cultural, cross-religious issues in detention centres, basically because you're living in a poxy environment. It's like the worst Year 7 camp from hell in the world.
Don't you think if there's issues like that in the centre, that those issues could happen outside the centre?
As in Australia? Basically, I think it's the point that you're living maybe for 3, 4, 5, 6 years in the same damn place with the same damn people up in your face every single day. Frankly, no. Yes, obviously there are racial issues that arise, but they are put in a hot pot when you're concentrating them so intensely.
How do you cope with that, being a Christian in there, if somebody doesn't necessarily respect your religion?
I have never had that experience in detention. I suppose because I'm a whole person. I'm not just a Christian, and the resources that you draw upon to visit detention and to engage with people who are in those horrendous places, both physically and mentally, is your whole self, It's not just your religion. So by the time they might get to know that I'm a Christian, they already know the whole rest of me as well. So, it's really never been an issue of respect.
Jessie, you mentioned 6 years. Is that the longest time that anybody's been in Maribyrnong?
He wasn't in Maribyrnong, but it's the longest time anyone's been in detention.
What's the longest in Maribyrnong?
Oh,
I mean, the people who are there now, how many are there now?
Well, asylum seekers, about 5 or 6.
Oh.
Hi, guys.
But
a lot of them are compliance cases, and they go up and down, left, right and centre. So people who are overstaying their visas and getting deported and moving around, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, whatever happened with your fellow Christian, the Family First Senator, getting the balance of power and being able to affect detention centre policy?
Are you talking about Steve Fielding?
Yes.
I actually met with him a couple of weeks ago. I led a delegation of TIA, from TIA Australia, which is a Christian NGO. And I got a call from them saying, we've got an appointment with Steve Fielding. We don't really know what to do. Can you help us? And I said, yes, love to. So we went in and met him, had a chat with him, and he really wasn't terribly convinced. He was... I was saying things. Well, I was saying things to him. I was giving him the spiel. I thought he would be an absolute shoo-in, to be honest.
Shoo-in to do what? To go on your side to vote against it?
I mean, this is the most family-unfriendly policy I think I've ever laid eyes on. But he was like, well, yes, I understand what you're saying, but there's a counter-argument for everything. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but, you've got to find the balance. And so I had to, bring out the low blows. I had to talk about kids trying to top themselves in detention by, hanging themselves and cutting themselves and slitting their throats and,
what did he say to that?
He sort of started to blanch a little bit, like, oh, heavens, maybe that's not altogether fabulous. He didn't give us anything definitive at the end of it. He didn't say, yes, I agree, that's shocking. He is up in the air. Let's see how he votes, basically, is the only way it's going to be revealed.
Now, we said before... Now, did you want to give a shout-out to your friends in the detention centres?
Sure, why not?
Go.
I wrote them down because otherwise I'll forget them all. Abdul, Ali, Mohammed Saleh, Human and Hi Mary, and Ranjit and Sayed. How you going, lads?
And they put in a request, but we didn't have it in the Triple J library, so if anyone...
You guys have terrible taste in music.
Has the Mariah Carey and Busta Rhymes single... what is it? I Know What You Want. Can you please dial us on 1300 0555 36? 1300 0555 36.
We'll play it over the phone.
Well, it's the best we can do. I can't think... Me and Michelle, we went all hell for leather because she texted us with this real request about
because it's a song that they haven't heard. It's a song that they haven't heard since before they went into detention.
This whole thing of downloading is really not easy.
We tried to download it as a ringtone. It just went crazy. We didn't have GPS roaming or something.
Oh, whatever.
But shocked.
I thought it was easy to steal music off the internet.
Apparently not.
Thank you very much for coming on in. And 1300 0555 36 if you have that Mariah Carey featuring Busta Rhymes song.
You're listening to Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Now, what political activism have you been involved in, Michelle Bennet?
Yes, Michelle Bennet, come on.
I went to a Right to Life march when I was a kid.
That's it.
That's about it. Well, I went on the Wall March in 2002. I had an East Timor sticker that I didn't put on my car, but I did have the sticker. What about you, John Safran?
Well, aren't you, Jajana Guzmao? I've done street theatre for East Timor, so that already beats you.
You've done street theatre,
I've
like
photograph, and I've got photograph in case you think I'm making that up. Of I'm trying to think. I would have been in my early 20s, and I had to dress up in my old Ventura uniform and be like an Indonesian soldier who was then beating up like some
East Timorese.
East Timorese.
And where did this street art happen?
It happened in what was then. I think it was then called the City Square. I don't know what it's called now.
Mm-hmm. It is still called the City Square.
Yes.
How about you, Father Bob? Have you done anything?
Have you ever done street
70
theatre?
years. I've never done street theatre. They reckon every time I walk out the front door, it's street theatre. You see? But I've been to barricades. I was down there when the Unionists were fighting against Patrick Corporation or whatever it was on the wharfs.
Down at the wharfs? Did you give them counsel?
No, I was just there. I'm a coward.
I've given advice to protesters. I think I could even what's that role called when you advise? You consult. I could be a consultant for protesters. For example, I met with the heads of the West Papuan movement. This was years ago, and they showed me a tape, because one of the things the West Papuans like to do is they love the pig, but they love to eat it, and they consider it a great honour to kind of beat it to death with a club and then offer it up to outsiders, like the pig.
Does it have to be a violent death to the pig?
Well, they showed me the tape, and in their heads, like the West Papuan group, they were going, "Oh, this is good because this shows they're generous because they're partaking in this ceremony with, the white outsiders." And I said, "Man, you don't want that. You so don't want that tape getting out with like them just beating this kind of animal to death."
Yes.
It's like, because like that's your target market. Your target market are the kind of the vegan,
kind of
the
lefties,
they're the kind of people who don't like to see a live animal beaten to death with a club in a cruel way. So I recommended that,
so
and they took it on board.
And so they didn't show the tape anywhere.
Well, yeah, they didn't. They did do a ceremony where they carried a pig's head in to a local church. Would you do that in your church? Actually, that's
what, beat a pig to death?
No. Part of the ceremony is they took the pig's head, and the church wanted to show they were open to other ceremonies, so they accepted this pig's head and like put it up in the church. Was it cooked? I can't remember.
Would you allow a pig's head into your church?
And then they smeared. The other thing they did is
You're getting as bad as him. The simple answer is yes.
And they smeared the other thing they do is they smear the pig blood on the, what's that called? That's the Morning Star flag.
Oh, their Morning Star flag, the Independence flag.
Yeah, so for them, in their heads, it was it was a good sign, a strong sign of pig's blood on the Morning Star flag hanging up on the corner of the church in Dandenong and Road in Chapel Street. And
I think those ceremonies are not.
I just said people don't want to see pig's blood on a flag.
I don't think they're not transferable, those ceremonies. It's like the Red Indians who thought that the missionary was a valiant man, would stab him and take out his heart and eat it before.
And they'd take that as a
sign
flattering
of strength.
Oh, yeah.
So, are you a strong man? Me eat, you heart.
But they didn't look at it that way as the
the missionary
the
didn't,
Red Indian.
because he was missing something, an essential part. The same as the other day in that movie, The Da Vinci Code, when the albino monk got sprung because he was digging up the church looking for a clue, you see, and the nun said, "Excuse me, I have to clean this church," and he picked up a candlestick and bashed her across the head. And I thought, I know what that is. That's the origin of the term numbskull.
I've never even heard of the term numbskull.
Numbskull.
Oh, numbskull.
Never been called in a Catholic college by your teacher? Michelle, you are a numbskull.
I was raised a Catholic.
Well, I'm not, but never called a numbskull. Excuse, this is too chummy. Yes. Did you like that? You thought that? I thought that was quite.
I wanted you to meet each other to death.
All right.
Joining us is a professional, a doctor. He's wearing a white coat and he has a stethoscope and a giant butterfly net. He's Dr. Eugene, who's the director of a gallery that hangs the art of people who are experiencing or have experienced mental illness. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, why is your gallery called the Cunningham Dax Gallery? Who is Cunningham Dax?
Well, Cunningham Dax is still alive. He's 98. And he, but over more than 50 years ago, he was invited to come to Victoria to change the system here.
So he was a psychiatrist, was he?
A psychiatrist from England. And he came here to change the system because prior to coming here, the care in the asylums were really very much in the era of the custodial care. People were locked away, put away, and forgotten in many ways. But what he did was that he introduced very humane treatment, introduced modern treatment.
And did he introduce the idea of patience? doing artwork?
Absolutely. In fact, back before he came to Melbourne in England in 1946, he was the first psychiatrist to bring an artist into a psychiatric hospital to encourage his patients to paint. And also musicians, to encourage them to play music and other humane treatment.
So it was actually part of their therapy?
Part of their mainstream treatment, yeah.
And it still is now?
Well, much less now, much less in the hospital. Most of the work now are done in the community, but in the hospital you'd be lucky to find a corner of a psychiatric service that has got an art facility.
So who's the gallery for? Is it just for the patients as some sort of therapy, or is it also for? Is there something for just a art gallery lover to get out of the art?
Well, no, it's for everyone.
Yes.
It's for everyone, from both the patients, the artists, the community. The main aim of the place is to educate the community about the experience of mental illness, so to counter stigma. You see, when Cunningham, one of the things Cunningham Dax did was that he suggested that people should be treated normally in the community. But he found when people returned from the asylum to the community rejected them out of fear and ignorance. And so Cunningham Dax decided to educate the public through the artwork.
But do you think your gallery works as art alone? Like it stands up just by that standard? Like the art's good enough for people to learn from or to feel a connection with, just like with a regular gallery?
Well, I think it's a lot more. It's a lot more than just a regular gallery. Firstly, I must say that the art are all very powerful, all very done very freely. I think, John, you've been to the gallery, so
yes.
Were you impressed?
Yeah, no, it was good.
You do talk a lot, though, about having setting some sort of rules when you go in to view the artwork.
Yeah.
So you acknowledge that this might not be a person that is an actual artist, but they're expressing something from themselves. What are some of the rules that you want people to view the artwork with?
Well, firstly, let's go back to history. I mean, historically, if we go back 100 years, this sort of artwork were sort of a source of fascination. People tend to view this sort of work as a freak show. And I think that is very disrespectful of the artist, because, you see, this is more than art. This is about, it embodies the experience of an individual, the life of an individual, not just a pretty picture. And so because of that, we ask people to be respectful of the artwork, that it is about a person's experience, a person's life. And we also ask them to consider the work from as many dimensions as possible. Not just as art, but also as something psychological, something spiritual, emotional, and so forth.
Do you ever turn down any work?
Do we turn down any work?
Like you just don't think it's good enough, or it's not interesting enough, or it's too sexually graphic or anything like that?
No. Well, our main criteria for selecting works is that it's of educational value. Recently, we have received 250 works done by people who have experienced childhood sexual abuse. Very graphic, very sexually graphic works.
When you say received, they've sent them in to you?
Well, the people who are interested to give us the work, they will contact us and give us some information about themselves and samples of their work. And then we will meet them, get to know them, and go through a process so that they understand what they're giving, why they're giving the works for, and how they will be shown.
But some of the work isn't named, is it? The artist isn't named in the work. Why is that?
Well, about 2/3 of the collection, they were done in hospital. And because they were done in hospital in particular clinical program, I mean, not all works done in hospital belong to this category. Because they were done in particular clinical program to help them for the doctors to understand their inner world, we had legal opinion that they have a status of a clinical record. So therefore, as it is with your clinical record, privacy is so important.
And you've got an exhibition coming up of children who went through the tsunami?
Yes, we have an exhibition coming up with the Australian Catholic University Gallery in first 2 weeks of July. These are the children who have survived the 2004 tsunami in Sri Lanka. We had about 76 works that were given by the children. And again, they gave us the work because they wanted the world to understand their experience. And this is for the same reason why people give us works, because they want the world to understand what does it feel like to have a mental illness. And that is part of normal human experience too, in some ways, and to remove the stigma of mental illness.
But these children who survived the tsunami, are you saying that these paintings, in fact, indicate that they have suffered trauma?
Trauma, absolutely. So it's not. So we are not just about mental illness. We are also about trauma. Exactly. And again, sexual abuse is a trauma. It's not necessarily a mental illness. So it is about trauma.
So many of the great artists themselves.
Like Van Gogh, who committed suicide, and
Goya,
Jackson Pollock.
They would be sharing. They would be indicating the state of mind and heart that they're in, surely through their paintings.
So the exhibition of the tsunami, when was that happening?
First 2 weeks of July.
And the Cunningham Dax Gallery, that's open?
We are open to the public every Thursday, and you just rock up, and also on Saturday afternoons.
Where
at Parkville. At Parkville. 35 Poplar Road, Parkville.
Where the Commonwealth Games was held.
So get on your train from Perth now.
Thanks for coming in.
But we have a website, and it's good to have a look at the website.
What is it?
Which is dexcollection.org.au.
Thank you.
You're listening to Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Adelaide van der Lusterbeda with Communique.
Father Bob, this is Triple J, and you're very lucky. Your off-mic personality's only slightly different to your on-mic, as opposed to totally different, because you started talking when you thought you were off the microphone.
I did, because red light to me is a no-no.
Yes.
Because red light district. Don't go there. So the producer said to me, excuse me, the red light's on. You've got to shut your mouth.
Michelle Bennet, I was watching an Opus Dei documentary on SBS this week.
Yes, that was out of Chile.
Opus Dei in Chile, talking about
Which is where it originated, I think, didn't Opus Dei?
Spain.
It was in Spain, was it?
But Chile is Spanish, isn't it?
Well, it's in South America.
And I was talking about how the organisation had stretched its octopus-like tentacles
into a dry cleaners.
Yeah, all over the place. Now,
it was a pretty biased documentary, this documentary, so I think it was definitely leaning against Opus Dei.
But what disturbed me most is you texted me during this documentary and said, see that law firm where they're just kind of like exposing how it's been infiltrated by all these Opus Dei members?
Well, that was the father, and I was in Chile at the start of the year, Father Bob, and I went to that law firm.
But the reason you went to that law firm was because you were seeing a guy there.
I was visiting a friend there. Yeah,
and you asked me for my advice about whether you should see him or not continue seeing him. And I said, well, it's a bit silly because he's in Chile and you're in Australia, and it's just not going to work. Like you have to or whatever. But if you would have told me that he was in
an Opus Dei law firm,
that would have changed everything. I couldn't have encouraged you more to go over there. Now, the Da Vinci Code talk of the week, Father Bob. Do you know any Opus Dei members?
No. Yes, one, Joe Martins, the parish priest of West Melbourne.
Oh, really? So you're just allowed to give out their names like that?
Well, he's the parish priest of West Melbourne. He's the spokesperson. He was in the paper this week.
And does he wear that thing around his leg?
I don't know what I don't go looking, do I? Excuse me, would you remove your trousers, Joe?
What do you think about Opus Dei, though, Father Bob?
I'm nervous about Opus Dei and the other movement within the church that is brought up with Spanish-type methodology.
Although I love how they've got the clan hoods, and you can walk down the street.
How do you know they got the clan hoods? Because the bloke in the bloody film put a.
Yes.
You don't believe everything you see, surely.
But this is great because I'll be able to walk down in my clan hood now down the street, and when someone goes, "Oh, John, that's pretty insulting and offensive," I'll go, "Well, please, stop kind of oppressing me. This is the Opus Dei."
But armed robbers wear clan hoods.
Now, Father Bob, I thought of a prank we can do on your friend, the Opus Dei guy, because I'm quite pasty, so I could if I put on the hood,
be the albino.
I could be the albino, and I can run in there with my
And what?
I don't know, with my...
No, don't do that, for heaven's sake. Opus Dei's smarter than that. In fact, they wheeled out a bloke called Silas and showed him off through the television around the world with his Rolex watch and his Gucci this. What's Gucci?
Do you think they have too much money, Father Bob?
I don't know. They've got a terrible lot of money, but they do a terrible lot of global things. You see, it's one of those high-tech, high-cost intrusions into the world by church people. That's what worries me.
But isn't that what the Catholic Church is like as well?
No, we're supposed to be... Look, the lady mentioned the name and I won't. He said you've got to be like, what do you call it, salt, just like salt. You shouldn't be standing out. You should be part of, not greater than. In fact, they refer to 2 or 3 of these movements, one of which is Opus Dei, in a book written by somebody who will be named later, as the Pope's Armada.
Have you been asked to be an Opus Dei?
No.
But, like, if they're not asking you, like, who are they asking? Like, how do you get asked?
They're asking pillars of the church, I presume. You've got to be a pillar of the church. Don't forget there's 2 churches.
Can you kind of put out the kind of the signs that you're interested in being asked? Or is it one of those things
I've already hung out enough signs, don't you, by getting mixed up with you and your escapades.
Or do you just seem a little desperate if you kind of... Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Put out the vibe that you want to join.
Yes, but I mean, I think you might have to sell your sensibilities. That, in fact, we're supposed to be part of, not greater than. Because they've got the reputation. Talking about documentaries, but the light's going to go off in a minute. Did you see that dreadful one on, and you're going to say, shut your mouth, the protocols?
Of the
one of
Elders
those
of
were
Zion.
on. Yeah, that was bloody terrible.
What, the documentary or
yeah,
the what?
Even when the redneck bloke from the Ku Klux Klan said, yes, we have all these books on store here, yes, we send them all over the world about the protocols of Zion, but don't forget, everybody knows that it's not true. Everybody knows it's not true. And yet they still use these things. What are they sending them out? As Dan Brown has sent out his code book. Everybody knows it's not true.
I don't like it when you start talking about Jewish conspiracies, because then when you go off on a bit, and I kind of want to wind you up, it sounds like I'm trying to shut you down.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You know, like, yes, like I'm trying to shut you down because I can't handle the truth about
now.
my people. Now, you're leaving an hour early for some reason. Why's that?
Because Michelle's here.
Oh, you
I'd like
Don't
Michelle.
blame me for this.
Not blame you. I'm encouraging you to add a bit of class to this second hour.
Father Bob, you obviously have...
Too chummy.
It's a drive to the country because you've got a gig. Which
Do you think it's a wedding, do you think, at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night?
I'm suspicious.
You think?
Thank you for your 1 hour
thank you.
Anyway, Father
Very
Bob.
grateful, and we'll meet again, hopefully.
You're listening to Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Michelle Bennet, are you
John
happy you got
Safran.
rid of the priest now?
Yeah, I did. I'm glad we've bumped him off.
Yes, he's been dragging down my career for too long. Hey, I had a daydream about vindication, because I'm going to be going to America in probably about 3 weeks.
What are you going
something
to
like.
America for?
Well, it's like work related, right? I don't want to get into too much detail, right? But it's kind of like
Are you schmoozing?
probable case scenario, add up to nothing, and sort of, just...
Is this because you're...
That's probable case scenario, right? But
Yeah.
sort of if the absolute, all the stars were to align, 0.00001%, something could happen out of
Are
it,
you going
right?
to be famous? You're going to be famous.
Well,
Is it LA
but-
that you're going to?
I am. And so I was lying on my bed, and I was kind of I wasn't trying to, but I subconsciously had this kind of vindication daydream. Like that my enemies were kind of
There at the airport?
No. They were sort of somehow I'd gone to America and it had all worked out, and then I'd become big in America, and then my enemies sort of they're watching me become
famous and stuff. Were there ex-girlfriends and so on in that group?
No, I'm not that petty. And it did remind me of when I got out of my day that when you do the whole vindication thing, when you kind of go, well, screw you thought I was going to add up to nothing, and look at me now. You've got to make sure you time it right, or else you can't preempt it.
What, you time how you've been successful, or?
Yeah, you've got to really make sure, sort of when you chuck the tanty and go, screw you, you thought I'd be nothing, but look at me now. You've got to make sure it's exactly the right moment, because I was at the Australian Writers Guild Awards several years ago, and there's a category called Best Unproduced Screenplay. So it's someone's put in there. Yes, I mean, it speaks
and
for
so
itself.
what? They just read the screenplay.
They read the
somebody
screenplay, right?
Wins, but it's
And
not.
someone wins.
It's obvious. How can it be a best screenplay when it's not been produced? Like it's.
Well, it's on paper, and it's meant to give it. And anyway, so the girl who won, she got up there and she gave the whole "screw you" speech to sort of like.
But did it ever get produced?
No, I don't know if it wasn't produced at the point that she got up there and said and she had a sneer and was like, people told me I shouldn't do this screenplay and da 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 and like, and this was her big kind of Hailey Berry moment, and it was like, and I was sitting there going, like,
private awards.
I'm really happy for you, but I'm produced. I'm going to make sure I don't make that mistake. Joining us, Stephen Mayne from crikey.com.au. Some people leave off the .au, I notice, when they introduce you on shows and stuff, which must make you fume, Stephen Mayne.
Well, look, it does happen a lot. It happened earlier today on the ABC, in fact, but look,
Now, I've never been interested in social activism, but I found out there's money in it. Is it true? Is there money in being a social activist? Can you make a career out of it?
Well, I think if you need to broaden it out from social activism to just activism generally, and a lot of people can make money out of it. I mean, the most obvious way to make money is just to build up your personal brand as an activist, and then to tell your story. And whether telling that story is your own TV show, or whether it's writing a book, or whether it's the talk circuit. And the talk circuit's probably the most lucrative and common one now. So someone like Ralph Nader, when he made his financial declaration... Give us a little Ralph Nader bio. Well, Ralph Nader, the famous American consumer activist who took on General Motors back in the 60s and campaigned successfully to get car design changed, ran for US president in 2000 and 2004 and had to reveal his financial figures as part of those presidential campaigns. And he revealed that he made 380 grand in 1 year just on the talk circuit and writing columns. And he had more than $2 million in mutual funds and more than almost $2 million in shares. So he was worth sort of 6 or 8 million Australian dollars, and he was the all corporates are evil sort of preacher. And a lot of people said he was a hypocrite for that because how can he personally profit? And the line he used was that any money he made, quote, used to strengthen civil society. So monies I earn are for strengthening civil society, which is, I guess he did do that. And who's paying for these speeches? Well, just, if you look at I do a few paid speeches. It's very lucrative. I remember.
So do you make more money now than you would have at the start with your paid speeches, because you've sort of built up the brand that is sort of Stephen Mayne, who writes for Crikey and who does radio?
Well, I often say to the wife that I could make a full-time living on the talk circuit, but I choose not to. But I got one last week. Bloke rings up, $2,000 to come and speak at some breakfast. And I said, sure. I've probably only made $20,000 over the last 6 years. I've probably given 10 or 12 paid speeches and 190
you started
unpaid
off as the shareholder activist.
Yeah.
You stood up and asked Rupert Murdoch the hard questions.
Yeah, and I actually said to my wife last year, I said, look, Rupert's now moved the company to America. I've harassed him at the last 7 AGMs, and I'm fairly well known around, for having a go at Rupert. And it's the one story where I go around the world, where it gets picked up in the Financial Times and, occasionally in Variety and, whatever, because Rupert's a global figure. So I said, look, I think it's worth... I want to do it anyway, spend $3,000, go to New York and harass Rupert at his first American AGM after he moved the company. And I said, because I've got to try and justify it from a cost point of view, I said, look, it's worth it for the potential, just in straight dollars terms, keep your anecdotes up to date on the talk circuit, because I often do the AGM war stories, fighting with Rupert. And Kerry Packer told me I'm always offensive and frank, that sort of rah talk that you can do. And that was my argument. I said, look, please
that you can tax deduct your truth.
Yeah, please let me go to New York, darling, because at least I might be able to make a bit back on the talk circuit down the track just by keeping the anecdotes up to date. So someone like Mike Moore, he's charging $40,000 US to go and spend a couple of hours talking at American universities. He's creaming it in. And I personally reckon that's quite immoral to charge a not-for-profit university that much money. And he's already worth, tens of millions. But just
does he justify it at all? Does he give a reason for that amount of money?
Well, I haven't ever seen him justify his speaking fees amount. He just says, yeah, look, sure, I make money and I'm happy to. I walk with the millionaires in Manhattan and I get to assess them because I've got $1 million apartment in Manhattan. I've got a beachfront holiday place in Michigan, where he's from. It's on lake, one of the big lake around Michigan. But he just says, look, this is what I do, and it's a market. So I guess at one level you can say fair enough, but another level I just think it's also to do with his brand. And his brand is not being money grubbing, and I think that revelation damages his brand. Yeah,
that if you come out and say that you're against marketing, you're against people making money, that's when you shouldn't make money. But what about activists that aren't against making money but have a different cause? Do you think it's wrong that they make money?
Well, I think that activism, people make money all the time from activism and from associating with charities and those types of things. I mean, I sort of feel good in a way that I've made money from activism because, and I'll confess to you quite honestly here, that as a shareholder activist, I basically was broke in 2000 after the Olympics, and I took a strategic decision to run for the boards of 8 companies all at the same time, and all of those companies had the most widely owned share registers, so Telstra, Combank, Woolworths, AMP, National Australia Bank. So I hit, in 8 weeks, 5.6 million households with a direct mail campaign funded by those companies. Because when you run for a board, they have to do a little 100-word spiel on who you are, and all the spiels mentioned crikey. So I was interested in governance issues, but I will admit that partly it was using activism to promote shareholder good accountability, etc. But also, I can admit 5 years later, there was an element of marketing for my dying subscription newsletter. I think a lot of people do that.
Stop beating up on yourself and start beating up on other people. Peter Cosgrove.
Well, Peter Cosgrove, I know a bloke who tried to hire him the other week for a speech, and he was told, well, that'll be 20 grand, the best suite in the local 5-star and business class return fares for me and the missus, which is, fair enough. But then you look at what happened with Cyclone Larry in North Queensland, and all the reports were Peter Cosgrove selflessly donates his time to save the people of North Queensland and to restore order to a decimated community. And I, sort of having gone through this, whether you do something, if it's good for your brand, that is great for his brand. And that will strengthen his ability to continue charging 20 grand, because your East Timor speeches, sort of the anecdotes, they get a bit tired because they're 5 years ago, and you've got to keep your, heroism up to date. And so he can just add on to East Timor was, yes, then I was Australian of the Year, then I ran the Defence Force, I won't mention about the $1 billion copters that we shouldn't have bought, and then I went up and saved the people of North Queensland, and this is how I did it, and the Premier rang me and the Prime Minister rang me and I got $500 million from the taxpayers and I did this and that. And if he's on 20 grand a speech, and I dare say he's probably making $500,000 a year at least, plus he's on a 6-figure pension, plus he's on 120, 140 grand a year from Qantas as a director, and he's a consultant to Deloitte's, he is making probably, I'd be guessing, but probably in excess of $1 million a year. So it was a very lucrative thing for him to retire, and he's got to continue that, keeping his brand right where it is, because it's so lucrative at 20 grand a speech.
So why have you chosen not to exploit this area, Stephen Mayne? Do you just think you'll get tripped up?
Well, I feel guilty because I take on too many commitments. And whenever I do a speech, and I'm doing probably 2 a week at the moment, I did 2 last week, both unpaid, and I do so little preparation because you're so madly running around that I feel absolutely guilty about charging someone thousands of dollars when you haven't spent 2 days preparing for it and you haven't got a whiz-bang PowerPoint that blows them away. And I just think it's too easy. I feel embarrassed.
What sort of things do you get asked to speak at?
Oh, I'm doing Rotary clubs, Labor Party branch meetings, university, big accounting firms, sort of after-dinner speaking. It just comes in from across the board. I even had one last year, which I have to say I knocked back, because Andrew Bolt, the Herald Sun columnist, He got paid $3,000 by the Pharmacy Guild to go and address their conference. And I sort of thought, yeah, a bit uncomfortable about that. And then a group of pharmacy people rang me, or through an intermediary, and said, we'll give you $1,500 just to come and have dinner with 6 of us. We don't want you to speak. We just want you to come and have dinner with us.
Did they want to? So they want to pick your brains for ideas?
No, I think they want to lobby because the pharmacy industry is in the midst of a major campaign to try and rebuff Woolworths, which wants to come in and set up pharmacies in their supermarkets.
So they thought they could get through you, and then you'd write nice things on crikey.com.au.
Yeah, and I said no to that because I thought that as soon as the next time it comes up, they're going to try and pitch some angle at me, and I'm going to be tainted because I've taken their cash. So I said to the guy, look, I can't actually do it that night because I'm busy, but I will happily come and have dinner with these guys for free because I think it would actually be quite interesting, to hear what the game plan is to stop Woolies, etc., etc.
And did they decline that? Or?
Oh, they weren't in town. They were from interstate. They weren't in town, and it never went anywhere. And also, the agent who rings you wants to take his 20% fee, so they're never interested in putting you up for free gigs because they don't get paid either. So
we're here on Triple J. I'm still freaked out about how the mics was left on, and the audience got to hear
a little bit of Father Bob.
The real Father Bob. And I'm wondering what would happen if the mics were left on when you didn't know. Now, your personality is kind of close enough, I reckon.
To my biting personality on air.
You wouldn't be exposed as a hypocrite. Do you reckon? I
don't think that Father Bob was exposed as a hypocrite.
No.
No, he wasn't.
No.
You
heard
it on the way in, and it was just a friendly chat from Father Bob. It was only a few seconds. It was only like 6 or 8
Father
seconds.
Bob was
do you reckon
mortified
worst case scenario, imagine if the mics, like someone wanted out to get me and they flicked the mics on when I didn't know. Do you reckon I'd be bust? Like how different am I when I'm talking now?
No, you're pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, you're totally the same.
Yeah.
I've never even
Which
heard you swear.
Which is very annoying, really.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't change at all.
Everyone out there, it's not an act.
We're here with Stephen Mayne from
shareholder activist.
.com.au.
And we're talking about business and charity and making money. Now, businesses that use cause-related marketing, I'm thinking about things like the Body Shop, where there's this implication that something good is going on as well as just purchasing the cosmetics.
That's right. Well, I mean, over 30 years, the Body Shop built up a reputation for pioneering not testing their products on animals and fair pay arrangements from their suppliers in third world countries, so they don't use sweatshop labour, all those types of things. They don't rip off third world farmers or suppliers. And they also pioneered a lot of the recycling side of things. So they were green, animal-friendly and equitable in their dealings with impoverished suppliers. And now they've just sold their soul to L'Oreal.
And this is mainly Anita Roddick who started the Body Shop.
Yeah, Anita Roddick started it. She set it up 30 years ago and sold it to, or still the sale is just going through. It will be finished by the end of this month. So it's literally going through 1.5 billion. And she set it up, 2,000 stores around the world, making about 100 million a year in profit. And she's been quite upset by the amount of outrage which has come forth in Britain.
But there's things like, because L'Oreal does animal testing, and I think they still do it now.
Well, I think they claim. I read something today. They claim that they've phased it out, and it's actually going to be against the law, I think, from 2008 in the EU to continue doing animal testing. But the real issue is, I mean, L'Oreal does have a history of it, and some of their suppliers at the moment do animal testing. But for me and for a lot of people, the real issue is the fact that Nestlé, the world's biggest food company, owns 24.6% of L'Oreal. So therefore Nestlé owns 24.6% of the Body Shop, and Nestlé is the world's most boycotted company.
What do they do that's wrong?
Well, it's a long list, but I guess two of the best examples are in the coffee market. There are 4 or 5 big players like Procter & Gamble, Sara Lee, Philip Morris and Nestlé, the big 4. They buy more than half the world's coffee, okay? And they just basically rip off third world farmers like you wouldn't believe. So in 1992, coffee farmers around the world got 33% of world coffee sales. Now that's down to 10%. And the actual value of coffee exports has fallen by US $4 billion over the last 12 years when coffee sales have exploded around the world. So the big multinationals have absolutely screwed the third world coffees, and Nestlé, as the largest player, has been most blamed for that because they own Nescafé, which is the world's largest coffee brand.
But what about before this sale? Were you happy with the Body Shop trading on that image?
Well, I'd never been a customer. I've never actually bought anything from the Body Shop, but I did actually buy their shares at one point, and I was all set to go to their AGM.
Did you buy them because you thought they were ethical?
No, I bought them because I wanted to have a bit of fun sparring with the great and famous Anita Roddick. So I was in the UK in about 1998 or something, and I bought the shares and I was all set to go down, and my damn hire car got impounded by the local council that once I got up to drive to her AGM, and the car wasn't there, and it had been impounded, so I missed out. So
what were you going to
spar
spar with her about, though? Considering it was a fairly transparent company.
Well, I was just going to get into the finances, and I mean, the share price was down. I wasn't going to take any social animal testing type perspective. I was just going to roll in and sort of roll with the punches on whatever sort of happened at the AGM and just do a general report on this is how Anita Roddick's AGM runs compared to Rupert Murdoch or Kerry Packer or whatever.
Those gift baskets that they have, there's a lot of crinkled up tissue paper that looks like you're getting a far bigger hamper than you really do when...
Yeah. So I actually buy her story about that she did pioneer a lot of really good things and she made a lot of money along the way, and it was a very successful marketing campaign. I mean, I don't think she set out to change fair pay in the third world. I think she cottoned on to a very successful marketing, cause-related marketing.
People liked it.
Yeah, people want to be, see products coming from ethical places, and her sales exploded on the back of that. And so I think it was just opportunistic marketing.
Now that she has sold it to L'Oreal, she's sort of talking about changing the culture of L'Oreal and Nestlé from the inside. Do you believe that she can?
Well, I think there's an argument with L'Oreal, but she's come out in the press about 2 weeks ago and said, I do have concerns about Nestlé, and please boycott Perrier, Kit Kat and Nescafé rather than the Body Shop because they only own like 24% and they're sort of a bit separate. So she's already backpedaling on the Nestlé connection. But I think that in terms of, she's done the deal with L'Oreal, and L'Oreal's made a whole series of commitments that they intend to implement her systems of sourcing and push that right through L'Oreal. And from L'Oreal's point of view, if they weren't going to do that, well, then they'd be crazy to have bought the Body Shop because it's going to get themselves a truckload of bad publicity. So I think that you have to take it at fair value that L'Oreal sees the marketing value of the Body Shop formula and says, yeah, we'll roll it out. And that's how Anita Roddick has been persuaded to hand over her baby.
Now, you're not happy with the Body Shop, but what about other businesses that trade on goodwill?
Well, it's just so common that I guess... I mean, I have to admit, I actually once owned a business that did this. A couple of backpackers set up one of those, chocolates in offices where, excuse me, if you spend $1 buying a chocolate, 5 cents goes to a charity, and it's a whole honesty thing. And these backpackers were staying with me, and suddenly their visas got ended at short notice, and they had to leave within 2 days. And I said, I'll take over your business, and whatever. So I suddenly, for 6 months, was running this, 5 cents to WWF for every chocolate sale, and that was a good little business for them. I mean, they weren't environmentalists. They just said this is a way to make money. So I sort of...
Because it's got the big panda badge on
it.
So
if
you put your $1 in, you'd sort of... And not reading the fine print too much, you'd assume that $1 was going to the pandas.
Well, it does say that 5 cents. It does explain it on the thing, but and WWF loved it because they were getting cash out of it. But it drove sales. So, I guess the point is that you look good, you borrow some charity's brand equity, and you make money yourself, and you give them a little sales commission along the way. So I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to dollars. That course-related marketing is just about another way of pleasing customers. And there's been some interesting examples over the year. I mean, Avon have raised 400 million Australian for breast cancer research by clipping the ticket on, you buy from Avon and we'll put money into that. And that's a lot of money. So you say, at one level, you say, well, that's great. And even sort of odd ones like American Express in 1983 pledged to donate 1 cent to the restoration of the Statue of Liberty for every credit card transaction. And their sales on their existing cards went up 28% and new users increased by 17%. So for them it was like brilliant marketing, and everyone thinks that we're great because we're helping to restore, to rebuild the Statue of Liberty.
But so you don't think that it's good to do it though, isn't it? But it's just the PR spin that sort of bugs you about it, that they get a lot back from it.
Yeah, look, I think it's good to do it, but I do think that the fact that ethical consumerism is on the rise, and more people are shopping around and not wanting to feel guilty about where they're doing it. Although it's funny, it's more on the rise in the UK, Europe and the US. I thought, for instance, that when Van Nguyen was executed by the Singapore government, I tried on crikey to gee up a bit of a boycott Optus thing, and I don't think it really cottoned on. Like, I rang Optus and said, I'm cancelling, and the guy said, I will offer you a better deal. I said, no, I'm taking a position against you executing an Australian citizen because your government controls Optus. And they said, And
they were surprised at that.
Yeah, but there wasn't that many. You don't hear of too many consumer campaigns in Australia
do you think
that.
It's just we're just too apathetic? We have it too easy?
I think so. I mean, even the old battery hen, the old favourite, 90% of all eggs sold in Australia are still battery-caged eggs. I mean, I always buy free range, but obviously as a marketing campaign...
But they're more expensive.
Yeah. And obviously as a marketing campaign, that hasn't really bitten. I would have thought, without looking at the figures, I would have thought probably down to 60 or 70%, but no.
Stephen Mayne, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you'll join us again.
It was wonderful to escape the great escape and come in and chat to you tonight.
It's always exciting for some reason when you kind of are mentioning actual brand names in a negative light, in a negative but legal light on the radio. It seems like fun.
I love it too. Nice to be here.
You're listening to Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
John, have you ever written anything at school that's gotten you into trouble? A teacher has apologised for asking students to write about who they would kill and how they would do it. Michael Maxwell says the request to describe how students would carry out the murder was merely a writing exercise.
That's fair enough. You know the most irresponsible thing that ever happened? This was in first year uni when I was doing journalism. Keep in mind, this was before September 11, so, maybe you could get away with things like this. We're sitting in this journalism class, and it's just a regular lecture, and Sally White, the head of journalism, was up the front and just going through this class. Then these two guys bust into the door with balaclavas, carrying guns, and so we're just there, and they're going what, and they're screaming, and we're all like people are sort of half freaking out, and then. But you sort of knew something was up, but you didn't, and it was very confusing and quite shocking.
What were they shouting at you to do?
Well, I was like, get down, don't worry about that, don't worry about that, don't worry. And then they took something from the desk, and then they ran out again, right? Mm. And so, and one girl was crying and all that stuff. And then it gets revealed, like the twist was that we had to write down what we saw, and then... Because everyone had
test your skills of observation.
Slight variations. The lesson was that you can't trust eyewitness testimonies, when you're on a story, because everyone's got a slight different version. Like some people said, the taller guy came in first, and others said the shorter. That kind of thing. But
so do you think Sally's listening at home to you, thinking that's not what happened at all? It was an elephant that walked in.
Pretty big. It was lots of fun before September 11. Let me tell you. I actually took a gun to... The first time I went to the Logies, just the third week of me still trying to talk about the Logies.
Talking about the Logies.
I remember after Race Around the World, I took a gun.
What sort of gun?
Like a replica gun. And we were walking in. It was sort of like... I went with Olivia Rousset, and we kind of... we dressed up in and we had a slight fatigue look, and I just had this gun.
As a gang, did they check you or anything?
Let me tell you, before September 11, you're
do
allowed
with the
to
gun,
use gun irony. I was just... walking around with a gun.
Did you want to feel big or something?
I can't remember. I was young. I was immature.
Not that young. Yeah, not that young not to know to not take a replica gun into somewhere.
I knew you'd take it that way. It's almost time to go. Now, are you allowed to shout at people in shops?
What do you mean shout at people? When you're not getting your way?
Yeah, just say, the faulty product or whatever. Because
yes.
No, but the thing is, because it's never that person's fault, if you know what I mean. I know it's their job on the one level.
Yeah, but if you don't do something, if you're getting ripped off or you're not getting what you want, then you just have to deal with what's in front of you, and it might be that person. I'm not saying you shouldn't be nasty to people, but you should be able to get your own way in a shop. Because you never get your own way in a shop. You are constantly being ripped off with bikes, with microwaves, with everything. What happened with your microwave?
I'd like to apologise to the guy at the microwave shop. But it wasn't like...
Did you get angry?
I got slightly whiny. Not exactly angry, and I felt like embarrassed. Like for the rest of the day, I couldn't get it out of my head.
Did you get your way, though?
No.
So that's the thing. That's if you did get your way, you wouldn't be embarrassed by it.
It was like a faulty microwave that didn't work from like the second I plugged it in. So just faulty, right?
So how come you didn't get your money back?
Took it back to the shop and they said their system is that I have to now take it to a repairer at the other side of town for them to test whether there is a fault or not a fault.
And so you walked out with the microwave
and I did a slight whine where I'm like, but I didn't buy it from the place over there and stuff. And I could tell, and the guy looked a bit kind of, I don't know, I could see I'd kind of, with my whine.
You'd hurt him?
Well, not hurt him, but it's not his fault. He's just a cog in the
So did
you
ended up driving the microwave over to somewhere else, didn't you?
Yes.
Even though it didn't work. You see, that's the thing. You shouldn't get hit with yourself because you were pushed around.
Michelle Bennet.
John Safran.
Can you thank the people that we had on today?
Thank you, Jessie Taylor, refugee advocate, Dr. Eugene from the Cunningham Dax Art Gallery, and Stephen Mayne from crikey.com.au.
We were going to play the Roland Kapferer pre-record, but we'll play that next week because Stephen Mayne went on. Hey, do you reckon, do you reckon, because I made a butterfly net reference to the guy
to the doctor
from the psychiatric hospital. Is that bad? Is he going to listen to the podcast?
No, I think it's okay.
Go after me.
It's all right.
Thank you very much, Michelle Bennet.
Thank you, John.
Triple J.